T.B.Photo X1.5 to FX, and welcome back to another video. Well, it's been a while, but I've been editing a lot of photographs and so on, and for anybody out there who has done HDR photography, you know that if you are using Lightroom or any other product like that, it takes a lot of, rendering time for the computer to be able to compose the individual pictures of different exposure to one complete picture. But enough of that. Well, as you've been probably known, it's probably known throughout my videos, I'm from Sweden, and from a little Swedish town called Gävle, and we were actually quite famous for this, among other things. But what we have started to do now is a city festival. Well, we have also this. But that's not the one that I want to point out, but this is the thing. Yes, the new Stadsfästen, the new city or festival, or whatever you want to call it, is about a 3-day thing that, it's about arts and so on, and Tivoli, and a lot of different, amusements and so on, and, it's a street fair. That's how you can probably summarize it. It's a street fair that goes on for about 3 to 4 days. But anyway, the thing was, I thought I'll just go out, on one of these days, and I used the Panasonic, I can never run, HXA1. This little camera is actually, in my opinion, a fairly decent, instead of using a GoPro, I would really recommend this Panasonic. It has served me well, at least, and there is a lot of accessories to this as well, so you can mount it in all manner of sorts of ways and so on. And I would say that one of the pros with this camera is that because it is completely round, I would call it a lipstick camera. It doesn't matter which orientation you put it in. You can always put it in any odd angle of orientation, so you always have, you can always have a straight horizon line if you mount it in any way. So that's good. It can be a little bit more tricky with a GoPro, but for this, there is not really any problem with mounting it so you have a straight horizon line. I usually, just went about with it in my hand and so on. When I've been on some other places, I've actually strapped this to my wrist. It's just, this is an extreme wide angle. The lens on this camera is an extreme wide angle, so it is what it is, but it's a substitute for a GoPro. So in that aspect, I really would recommend that Panasonic one. But anyway, one of the highlights of this street fair is that there is a lot of live music. And as you can see here over my right shoulder, one of the bands that I have photographed before and I've also talked about before in my videos, they were actually one of the bands performing. So I took the liberty and took a lot of snapshots at them. So I'm going to show you a bunch of pictures. They're going to be put here somewhere during this little talk about what I used when I did my walk around at this little street fair. Well, first of all, I used the Panasonic to get a little bit of a just to check the pulse of what was happening. So I might do a little bit of a here somewhere also with some clips from the street fair, or if I already haven't. But anyway, I did use my camera bag, so I had an array of lenses that I could use during these proceedings. So as you might see, coffee break. As you might see in some of these pictures, I did use quite a bit of different focal lengths and so on. And the main objective I used was yet again, if you're using something like a Canon 7000 series, which I'm using, which is the crop factor series, this lens is probably, I got this recommended from a photographer on YouTube, which some people consider him a little bit of a bully and so on, but you can't doubt that he actually has a bit of knowledge about lens, and it's the Angry Photographer. And he is very much in favor of calling people degrading things idiots and comments. He's very good at being negative towards people, but I think that's his shtick, so to speak. That's his thing. But anyway, he recommended this lens actually, and I found it cheap from Germany in great condition for its age, and it's the AF Nikkor 28 to 85 millimeter, 3.5 to 4.5 aperture. So it's not a constant aperture lens. It does change with zoom, but what is actually a little bit backwards with this lens is that this is fully zoomed to 85 millimeter, and this is 28 millimeter. That's reversed with other lenses because they get longer, the longer focus length you want to use, but this is reversed. If you take this, for instance, which is another lens that I use that I think is awesome for what it is, it's the AF Nikkor 75 to 300, 4.5 to 5.6. But this is 70, this is 75, and this is 300. So the more you zoom, the longer the lens becomes. This is opposite. This is the more you zoom, the shorter the lens becomes. So that's a little fun thing. But anyway, this is a brilliant all-around street lens, in my opinion. I mean, it has some really great, big lenses in this, and it's beautiful. I mean, yes, there are some surface scratches on this, but unless you're using it as an extreme macro lens, you won't notice anything. So on a lot of my pictures, this is the lens that I use the most. And then because people were on the stage, and it was, live music on stage, I needed something to get, really to telefocus, to zoom in. And I don't have any extreme telefocal, but this Nikkor, this AF Nikkor, the 75 to 300, this might be an old thing, and for some reason I never really was very into push-pull zooms, but I would say this is the push-pull zoom that actually changed my mind, because I remember when I was photographing some friends water skiing, or not water skiing, what am I saying? Going by jet ski and so on. This is one of the lenses that I used, and yeah. This is also one I bought from Germany, from the same retailer, Photo Kauska. But anyway, even though this is an older Nikkor lens of the AF range, it works on the Nikon 7000 series just because the Nikon 7000 is one of the only, it is the only, to my knowledge, Nikon non-full frame cameras that still has an internal focusing motor. So these two work on it. And then thirdly, this is a gimmick, I know, but it's a gimmick that I actually think is good. It is the Samyang, what is it called? The CS2. It's the fisheye. And this is an 8mm lens, so it's an extreme wide angle, which per definition is what a fisheye is supposed to be. And if you're out for that type of effect, this is also a manual focus. It's a manual focus, so it goes from 0.3 or 30 centimeters to infinity, but it is actually a little bit of play in infinity. And I think that a lot of cheaper, quotation mark, cheaper lenses, when they have infinity and a little bit beyond infinity, that's basically due to atmospherical things and relative humidity, temperature, and so on, that you have a little playroom beyond infinity. But I mean, this is made in South Korea. It doesn't say South Korea, it just says made in Korea. But if you're out for any type of, lens that you don't mind if it's a full manual lens, this isn't really full manual, because as I've understood, the CS2 is because this one actually has the electronic connection between the camera and the lens, so the camera can actually operate the f-stop, or the step down of the iris. You can operate from the camera with this. The CS1, the predecessor, you actually only had shutter control, or not shutter, aperture control on the lens itself. But this one, you can put it in so that you have aperture control on the camera itself. But anyway, these are the three lenses that I used. And a little fact was that when I shot the pictures, it was against the sun, because the sun was setting behind the stage. So I used this Nikon HN24, which is a screw-on light shield, and it works on both these, so I could actually change it back and forth. And it screws on, it is threaded on, it's not clipped on, so it's like the filter. You use the filter threads for both of these. And what is the size? It's a 62 millimeter. So yeah, that's basically it. I used these three lenses plus the Panasonic when I was out shooting at this local street fair. So enjoy the pictures, and this is Tobias Bergström from T.B.Photo X1.5 FX, and I want to see you guys in the next video. Take care. Take care. Bye.